This Future Cities Africa episode is presented by Wesgro, the official tourism, trade and investment promotion agency for Cape Town and the Western Cape. Michael Gamwo, head of Africa at Wesgro, is my guest today. We discuss the future of doing business in Africa. Michael, welcome. Can you give us a brief introduction to your role at Wesgro and why it is important?
My role is basically to promote Western Cape companies that are looking at entering the African market, either in terms of exporting their product or also to invest in Africa. So we will actively take them in the countries that they are interested in and then assist them with the meetings, the facilitation, and anything that is needed for them to enter that market.
So what is the future of doing business in Africa? And what key opportunities and challenges are there with regards to doing business in Africa?
We have to speak about it in the context of the African Continental Free Trade because that's the buzz of the moment. We have to look at it in terms of what opportunities does it bring and what are the challenges that we still have to face, no matter the African Continental Free Trade being there. So opportunities, yes, it makes the market, African market, a bigger market. So instead of being segmented as it used to be, we have a global market. So you can now export from South Africa to Nigeria, to Ghana, to DRC without having to pay export duties. And we know how much those duties are important because when you go to Kenya, you go to Nigeria, consumers always complain about the high duty that makes products very expensive. We can afford a bottle of wine here for 60 rand, but when the same bottle of wine gets to Nigeria, it costs 200 rand. So it becomes a luxury. But now with the African Free Trade Area being in place, it means that people can easily get access to those products at a reasonable price because there won't be any more custom duties. And also, in terms of investors, investment attraction, the African Free Trade Area is very important because now investors that were a bit reluctant to invest in Africa because they see the market as a segmented market or as a smaller market will now be attracted because it's going to be a huge market. If I now, as an investor, want to put up a factory to make shoes, I'm not going to be content of only the market that I'm in because it will mean that I set up a business in South Africa or in Ghana to make shoes, but I can distribute those shoes in the whole continent without having to worry too much about import duties. It means that those shoes will be accessible at affordable cost everywhere in the continent. So it's a very good attraction for investors. And also smaller countries like Namibia, where sometimes investors see it as a small country, small market, small size, they now have to see it as just part of the continent. So it really doesn't matter where you set up business. And there will be a lot of competition, in African countries to set up very conducive investment environment. So which is good because now it's going to push leaders to polish the investment environment because now people are not going to look at, oh, Nigeria is very big, so I need to go there. Or Namibia is too small, I can't go there. They're going to look at where are they feeling welcome because it doesn't matter now where I am. So that's where it's very important, where the African Free Trade Area is going to be very important in terms of attracting investment. Now, talking about challenges will still be there. What I was talking about was the ideal situation, but we know that in reality, there will still be a lot of issues. The main issue is the infrastructure. For business to be conducted the way we hope African Free Trade will operate, there needs to be infrastructure in place. The port needs to be more faster. The road needs to be there. The infrastructure to store product need to be there. And that's a big challenge that Africa still faces. And also leadership, good faith of certain countries. You remember that import duties are one of the main aspects for countries to get cash in their coffers. So if you start importing product duty-free, it means it's a big gap that's going to be in the finances. So I suspect that many countries will sign the duty-free agreement, but then they will make sure that there are other certificates or other procedures or processes that are going to be in place to recoup some money. So we still need to see how that's going to work, because in Africa, when you export a product, you don't just pay duties, but there's so many other things that you have to pay. And sometimes duties are not even the main issue of export. So we need to look at those. So we shouldn't be too over optimistic. We still have to face, to see how some other issues are going to be in place in order for the free trade area to be fully functional.
What are the global trends in terms of interest in the African economy?
I need to speak about that in the current context. We've just been through COVID, and now we're going through the Ukraine war. That is bringing a lot of changes in the trade environment, in the political environment. So many countries have been very reliant on China, for instance, for their imports. And then COVID came, and then there was lockdown, and there's so much restriction, in traveling to China and so on. So now many business people are now looking at sourcing some products from Africa, from South Africa, for instance, because they still have access to South African products, whereas it's becoming very challenging to do business with China. And now Ukraine wars also coming. Some European countries or African countries that were relying on some imports from Ukraine or from countries neighboring, are looking at alternative sources. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that there is so much shift now these days on in terms of the normal sources of import, and people are looking at alternative. And South Africa is the key source market for people when they start looking at exploring new import destinations. So in Africa in general, I mean, we see a lot of investors coming to Africa and trying to set up business to be able to bypass the challenge that they're having with China, with Ukraine, and other European countries. So there's been a lot of interest in exploring, Africa, not just for trade, but also for investment and also for tourism. You know how much restriction has been in the past years for, traveling for tourism. So people are now looking at what is good that we can do in Africa in every aspect. So it's going to be very interesting in the next future how much Africa benefit from this shift. But and again, it's as I said, those who are going to score are those who can polish their image and make sure that the infrastructure are there, that business people are welcome in all aspects.
What are the key trends in terms of Western Cape companies doing business in Africa? Anything new emerging?
No, Western Cape companies definitely, as we've seen for the past years, have been very going forward, in terms of looking at Africa as a destination for their product and also for their investment. Not too long ago, when people will talk about Africa, they will just see the negative. They will just see lack of funds, war in Africa or diseases. And again, once you have the big guys going into the continent, it pulls the others. When they see MTN is now making big in Nigeria, in Ghana, they see ShopRite is India, in Nigeria, ShopRite is in Angola, and so on. Then suddenly, not just those big guys pull in literally the smaller guys. Because remember when ShopRite or other companies set up business in a continent, they bring in their service providers. The 50, 60% or 70% of the product on the shelf there are South African products, because those are the ones that they know. Sometimes even the auditors will come from South Africa, the engineers and so on. And those ones, when they go there, they look at the market, and then everybody now start being interested. You have that drive in the Western Cape. And we've been at the forefront as Wesgro to make sure that people understand the potential of African markets. For the past 10 years, we've been driving that penetration of Western Cape companies in Africa, firstly by holding regular seminars where we invite people to listen to, people that have been making it there, share their success story. We do research, share with people so that they understand the impact, because people were always interested, oh, we want to go to Europe, we want to go to China and so on. But yet just next door, you have a big market for the product. The figures have been double in terms of export and outward investment. And we regularly lead a mission almost every month in an African country where we will take business delegation of 15 to 20 people. And then make it easy for them because we set up everything. We arrange everything, the meeting, we look for partners for them, we do all the bookings and so on, so that they don't have to, even visas, we arrange visas for them so that they don't have to think too much. They'll just come with us and we make sure that they get value for the time that they spend in that market. And we also make sure that people share their story. And that's what pulls the others. Because you have very good companies here with very good product that are needed in Africa, but because they've never been so interested in African market, they miss out on those opportunities. But by pushing them, by pulling them to come with us and listen to the good stories, they start being interested. So, I mean, these days in every mission that we take, that we organize, everybody wants to go because they see there's opportunities and people are already making money. And the past perception that people used to have been proven wrong. People used to think people are not going to pay you for your export. But I mean, if the figures of trade from South Africa, from the Western Cape into Africa keep growing, it means that people are getting paid. Otherwise, we won't be having that growth, in terms of export.
So you are providing the blueprint, as many companies might give up if they struggle with one or two steps.
Yes, it's very important that we understand the market. We know the people in the market. We've got our own partners there because we cannot work on our own. We first go and build partnership in the market. We build partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. We build partnership with business associations, with the investment promotion agency, with the government there. And once we build those networks, then we come to the Western Cape companies and say, now we can take you to Cote d'Ivoire or we can take you to Ghana and make sure that you have success in exporting your product, or if you want to invest in Ghana or in Angola, we make sure it happens because we've got all the network, we've got all the contact, we've got all the business partners that you need. And that's where we've been very good at.
Michael, in closing, what is the Western Cape's competitive advantage when it comes to doing business in Africa and to future-proof these businesses?
I don't want to discount Wesgro's own potential in making sure that the business person that come to us and say, I want to export my product in a certain country, or I want to invest in the country. It's very important that we say to them, yes, you can, because we know how you can get it there. So that's very important because not every province has that kind of agency that is very dedicated to Africa like Wesgro has. So people feel very confident that if they come to Wesgro, they will be able to access a market that they want. So that's the one thing. There is the facility or the facilitation aspect where it's easy to access an African market going through us. Now, secondly, the advantage is that we are all in Africa. The more and more African business people want to source products from South Africa. And the first place that they go to is, Western Cape, because they know that they can also come to us and say, we're looking for a supplier of apples, or we're looking for a partner because we want to build a hotel in our country, but we're looking for a South African partner. They know that it's easy for them to come to Cape Town because Wesgro will be able to provide them with that partner that they want. So that institutional support that we provide is very key, much more than the geographical proximity, which is usually what will come, first. You say, okay, well, the competitive advantage is the geographical proximity. Yes, it is important, but I think the institutional facilitation that we provide is very important. I'm talking about from experience because for the past 3-4 years, we've seen so many business coming through us, but either from South African companies or from the African companies coming to us to link them up with, locals. Having been able to transport your goods by road from here to Angola, to DRC, to Namibia, Botswana, and so on is very important. And I mean, the culture these days, being all part of the same African Union, it makes it logical for a Ghanaian or a Zambian, if they are looking for a product, knowing that South African can provide it, the same product, same quality that they will get in Europe or in Asia, they can get it here in the Western Cape. The ability to strike that personal relation, because it's very important in business. When an African business person comes here, They don't want to just buy your product and disappear. They want to create that bond with you. And as Africans, it's usually very, very easy to strike that bond than to strike the bond with a European or a Asian, where there's less similarity and less cultural proximity, if I can put it that way. So there's a lot of other advantages, even at the political level. When the president goes to Cote d'Ivoire, or the Ivorian president comes to South Africa, or the Zambian president comes here, those are very important in striking deals between companies from those countries.
A big thank you to Michael Gamwo, Head of Africa at Wesgro, for such an insightful conversation around the future of doing business in Africa. And just of course, reiterating for our listeners that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is still a work in progress, and exactly how it will unfold and the level of success it will achieve lies in the degree of liberalization and successful implementation thereof at country level.